podcasts.
Yeah, they're fun.
I did it yesterday.
Awesome.
Mine doesn't air till October.
Yeah, I think mine just aired. It was when the French people were doing their bike ride.
Sometimes
That's awesome.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order for the City of Saratoga Springs. Tuesday, July 19th, 2022 at 6:01 p.m. Present tonight, I have Councilman Podeska, Councilman McComber, Councilman Wilden, Councilman Porter, and Councilman Carn. I've asked Councilman McComber to lead us in our invocation and Councilman Porter to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear and gracious Heavenly Father, as we come before Thee at this time as a city and as residents of this great city, we are thankful for the many blessings that Thou hast given us. We're thankful for the opportunity that we have to govern ourselves and to govern locally. Heavenly Father, we also are grateful for the fact that we've had some rain in these last few days, and we ask that Thou bless us, that we'll be able to continue to have more, and that it will go in places that can be stored and that we'll be able to leverage here in the region. Heavenly Father, we ask a special blessing upon us this night, that we'll be able to have Thy Spirit to be with us, that as we are evaluating and looking at plans and decisions that are coming into the city, that we'll be able to make decisions that benefit the city and the residents today and into the future for many years to come. Heavenly Father, we ask a special blessing upon all of our first responders and those serving in the military, that they will know of our love, and please bless and protect them. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm the only one who did two.
Yeah, I always want to.
I was going to wear the white for 3.
Okay. First on our policy meeting, we have the presentation of the UMCA ICMA recognition of Assistant City Manager Owen Jackson.
It's the president from UCMA here representing that organization this evening. Aaron.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council, for letting me have some of your Mayor Miller and members of the Saratoga Springs City Council. My name is Erin Wells, the past president of the Utah City County Management Association, or UCMA, and the assistant city administrator for Highland, Utah. UCMA represents city and county management professionals throughout the state of Utah and is the Utah State affiliate for the International City County Managers Association, or ICMA. ICMA's mission is to create excellence in local government by promoting professional management worldwide and by increasing the proficiency of appointed chief administrative officers, assistant administrators, and other employees who serve local government. As a board member of UCMA and representative of ICMA, I am pleased to attend your council meeting this evening to honor a distinguished member of our association, Owen Jackson, with ICMA's prestigious Credentialed Manager designation. The ICMA Voluntary Credentialing Program recognizes professional local government managers qualified by a combination of education and experience, adherence to standards of integrity, and assessed commitment to lifelong learning and professional development. Managers are recognized by ICMA Executive Board through a peer-reviewed credentialing process. The program assists ICMA members in focusing and reflecting upon their lifelong professional development experience. ICMA credential managers are viewed with growing distinction by local governing bodies and progressive, civically engaged communities. The skills and experiences learned within this program are invaluable to the credentialed manager and to the communities that they serve. Owen is one of only 19 local government professionals in the state of Utah who have earned this prestigious designation. As a board member of UCMA, I am honored to represent ICMA in bestowing this credentialed manager designation to Owen. He is highly respected in our association and an example and mentor to his peers throughout the state of Utah. At this time, I'd also like to recognize that Owen currently serves on the UCMA board as the treasurer and has done so for the past 2.5 years with me. I've truly enjoyed the time I've gotten to work with Owen and in his role, and can attest, as you know, of his hard work, dedication, reliability, and respect from his peers. Thank you, and please join me in congratulating Owen Jackson, who has achieved this tremendous career accomplishment. I did contact a member of the Daily Herald who is planning on running a story in tomorrow's paper regarding this, so I would love to get a picture with you all. Mayor, do you want to be part of the picture? That would be wonderful, to not just be me.
Owen would, Councilman Wilden's requested a speech.
Thank you for keeping me employed and happy to serve the city of Saratoga Springs.
Sure. Here.
That's why we're making.
We noticed that you wouldn't look. You wouldn't look at us when we were. Yeah, he wouldn't look at us because he knew.
I think the mayor was like blinking. There we go.
You need to bow.
And I will actually say thank you to Tina Fairborn, who helped me put together some of Owen's favorite treats as kind of an extra special thing. So thank you to her as well.
Yes.
Aaron, thank you for coming.
Congratulations, Owen, and thank you.
I will say I am going to excuse myself. I have my own council meeting. So thank you for letting me take time here.
Thank you. Will you let him hang it on the wall, Mark?
Absolutely.
Check weekly that it's still there.
Is that glue that they use on the monument?
Give that assignment to Tina. She'll make sure it's
Just have a live stream on YouTube.
Okay, public input. Time has been set aside for the public to express ideas, concerns, and comments for subject matter not listed on the agenda. If you're here for the public hearing, please hold your comments for the public hearing. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please avoid repetitive comments, and please be respectful in your comments. Is anybody here for public input? Okay, if you'd come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mark Hugo. I'm here on behalf of Scott McLaughlin and David Weekly Holmes, and I'm not too sure confidently whether or not this is the moment that I perhaps might have something to introduce to the City Council, but it's regarding the easement of the well on Scott's property. Is this the forum?
This
or would
is-
it-
yes.
This is it. Okay, very good. Yeah. Just briefly, as I understand it, the City Council are going to be asked this evening to take initiative or to direct the legal department to pursue an eminent domain on an easement of the well that is property of Saratoga Springs. The easement is on Scott McLaughlin's property. And just very briefly, Scott McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Sorry to interject, I just feel like right now is not, you'll have a chance to actually.
Do we? Well, please,
they?
yeah. No, that's what I was.
It's not a public hearing.
Well, it's not, okay, if you can.
Oh,
No, it's not a public hearing, it's not for comment by the public in general, but the applicant or the property owner himself or herself has the right to speak
okay.
before the council passes the resolution. So maybe you might want to just hold your comments until the end, just so it's
I'm fine to do that.
It's up to you, though. I don't care either way.
I don't know
just-
that it
your call.
matters either way.
Mark,
When will that be?
If I could, it's
Please.
probably going to be a long meeting. so
Yeah, that's what I was
You may want
thinking.
to take advantage of this now while you're there, or you can wait. Your call.
Okay, good point, good point.
Okay, well, if you can just, make a few notes, and I'll try to keep, be brief, but you should know that, Scott McLaughlin's asset manager, Gary Curl, has instructed his attorney, and I think it's in the record, the response to the notification of the eminent domain initiative. And perhaps that's sufficient. Really, all that's being established is, I think, that there's a dispute on the price of that easement. And the legal department, as I understand, has or is, by virtue of the initiative for the eminent domain, is saying, well, we've come to an impasse on the price for that easement, and Scott McLaughlin is saying, really, no, we haven't. And part of the complication is that the property is currently within a equitable title to David Weekley Homes. It's under contract to David Weekley Homes, so it's not just as simple as a negotiation as what might customarily be. Which brings me to the next point, which is David Weekley Homes, who has equitable title to the property, is more than willing to negotiate with the city of Saratoga Springs in good faith, and has a solution that will not only address the easement for the well, but also the broader issue of Scott McLaughlin's property and Mr. Richard Chu's property to the south, which could be, and actually also Paul Hardman's property up on Redwood Road as part of a jurisdictional exchange. So really, that's all I'm here to do is say, hold on, guys, we may well have something to talk about that I think will be certainly in everybody's interest, the legal, certainly Mr. Christensen and the city council and the parties involved. That's really all I have to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We will discuss that at item 6 in the business section.
And I could answer some of those questions
Okay,
later,
yeah, if you'd like.
for sure.
No?
Let's do it later.
Do a
At
six?
that
Okay.
point in the agenda.
Okay.
And so would it be beneficial for me to stick around, or would it not?
It will be recorded on YouTube, so you could certainly go back and watch it later if you'd want.
Right, yeah, but if we're going to have comment on a,
Like I said, I can do an hour later if you want. Just briefly, I can address a couple of those points.
Okay, council's like, let's just do it real quick.
Okay. Yeah, so the city is, in the letter, in the 10-day notice letter that we sent Mr. McLaughlin, we mentioned that we're very interested in continuing negotiations.
Indeed.
So this is very common as part of an eminent domain proceeding to get the complaint filed, but continue negotiations. And almost all of them are resolved before there's ever a court order. And so that's our intent, is to continue the negotiations through the process.
Okay.
This is kind of a fail-safe in case that doesn't work out.
Yeah,
Because we need the easements now, and we can't wait 6 to 12 months. If that's how long the negotiation takes, that
Right.
would set us back quite a bit on this project. So that's the intent of this.
okay, then that's fine, yeah. We've got plenty of time to address that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else for public input? Oh,
I'm just coming here today as a concerned citizen, and what I'm about to say, I say
Oh,
with...
can we get your name and address?
Oh, sorry, it's Alex Larson, 609 North Badger Lane, Saratoga Springs. I say what I'm about to say with some humility, but I don't know, but I'm just asking some questions. Is this city prepared for more than a 10% decline in revenue? The debt you guys issued, at what rate was it? At what rate was it issued? Was it issued in the public market or directly to a bank? Has the city considered buying any federal T-bills or notes? And I haven't heard anything regarding curb cuts for the new developments. That's all, thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Mark?
Sure, as far as.
Oh, no, you were blinking. That's,
Oh, no,
okay.
blinking. Just in quick response, we addressed the curb cuts in the last set of code of engineering standards. So that was addressed last meeting, so we'd be happy to point him to that. As it relates to, I believe, the question of anticipating a 10% reduction, we discussed this as a council. We have a very conservative budget that we had proposed and adopted for this fiscal year, and we are more than prepared should there be a 10% decline in revenues at this point.
Okay.
Thanks for your questions.
Owen, was anything sent in? Anything else from the public? Okay, I will close the public input at this time. Reports, anything from the council? Okay. Seeing none, Mark, administration?
Yeah, Mayor, Council, thank you very much. If I could, I'd like to maybe suggest that we move report number 6, because that could be rather lengthy towards the end of the meeting. It will give us more time to be able to focus on that and not hold everything else up. Also, it was suggested that item number 3 on the consent items, if there were members that were being appointed to the library board were here, that we possibly remove that or we recognize them before you vote on the consent calendar. So just that as an item, and we will have need for a closed session tonight.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we will move the report item 6 to the end of the meeting. Splash.
Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to come tonight and share a little bit about our Splash Days overview. We were thrilled to be back in person for our Silver Jubilee and have most of our events back to their normal format. We did a condensed version, their condensed schedule this year, Wednesday through Saturday, and it worked out really well. Monday night was turned over to the Arts Council as a standalone event, and I'll have Rochelle talk about that in just a moment. Just to give you some of our highlights, some of our biggest increases, we sold over 1,100 pre-sale wristbands, and by the end, our net portion of the ticket sales was over $22,000, which is a drastic increase from previous years. Our parade attendance was way up. We had over 5,000 spectators. For those of you who were there, saw it was full. It was great. And one of the biggest, probably the most memorable highlight was the new format and location for our fireworks show. And it was hugely popular. We've had nothing but good comments, and we had a couple hundred, or close to 1,000 people at Patriot watching, and then everybody at Neptune Park at the carnival watching. And you may have seen a variety of social media posts, pictures from around the city of people sharing where they were watching the fireworks. You can see all the way down the lake. So we were really happy with how that turned out. So I'm going to share about.
So our Monday of Splash has normally been the concert, and it's still the concert. We do the same thing. We've just moved it to our Monday Fun Day. It's just going to be one of our summer events that we plan on with the Chalk Walk the first Monday. So, and then the car show, I did the car show. I want to make sure you all got your, okay, good. That we had between 55 and 60 cars sign up for. We only had about 45 of them show up. We think the heat may have had a lot to do with a lot of things that happened that day. The numbers at all of our events on Saturday were a little low, other than Saturday night, and we're sure it's the heat.
Do you have any questions or feedback that we can take from going forward?
Councilman McComber?
I was out of the country during Splash Days this time, and I was so disappointed because I have been a huge supporter of Splash Days. I have only heard the most positive feedback, so I want to make sure that goes back to all the volunteers. There's so many people, the royalty, all the different people who are involved in Splash Days. But I did get home, and I was going in onto my front porch, just checking if I had packages, and all of a sudden, there go the fireworks. So I did get home in time to see the fireworks, and I could see them from the golf courses where I live. And I think one of the reasons why so many people can see the fireworks now is it wasn't hidden behind the mountain that separates Jacob's Ranch and the benches, Saratoga Hills, because it was further down, so then everyone can see it from their home. So I think the new venue is a great idea, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Councilman Porter?
Yeah, I just wanted to add my accolades. We had a great time. I think the parade went really well. Like you said, it was, I think, the most people I've ever seen out there. It was a great turnout. And the fireworks, again, the venue wasn't as crowded as Neptune has been in the past. But I think that as people realize that we moved it in coming years, and as our city continues to grow, that's really the place we want to be at, because we have the space to accommodate, as many people as want to come. And to Councilman McComber's point, people don't have to all come to the park now. They can see it from their home, which is great. But just A+, and whatever vendor we used for those fireworks, let's keep those guys on our short list.
We are we're working out a multi-year deal with them right now. They're doing our Christmas fireworks, so they're fantastic.
Perfect. Councilman Carn?
So my comments, I know how much our city administration loves the fireworks. I don't want to see us take a step back from what we did this year in the future. So I'm supportive of that. And this is not criticism by any means, but maybe an opportunity. In the past, and I love Splash Days. I've gone every year for years. In the past, I think we've had a lot of synergy between the concert and the fireworks at the park on the same night. And I don't know what we can do in the future to do something over at Patriot, if that's where our fireworks are going to be, to help build that. But I just think if we can find something to get more people at the park, maybe a little earlier. Yeah.
Mobile stages.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying there's something we can do to plan to bring people over there, because it's a fun night when you go over there at 7. There's a concert. There's the food trucks. Concert ends. The fireworks start a few minutes later. So it's a good synergy, those two things together. And this year we did the fireworks. We did Friday night, Saturday night, and I personally missed that party that we usually have. So if there's something we can do in the future to bring those together, I would love it.
Okay.
But that's not a criticism
No,
by any means. Yeah.
It was good, though, at the park to see people there hanging out, socializing before, playing catch and doing things, which was nice, too. But
Well, we gotta be careful. I don't want to burn down Heston's.
hopefully we don't do it the laser light show again.
There was a great pickleball tournament leading up to the fireworks, too. That was our first year that has happened, so we're going to keep that
Oh, and
growing.
I know you were trying,
So we'll,
but utilizing the speaker system at Patriot Park for the fireworks would be great.
We
tried.
Upgrade the speaker.
might hear more about that later.
Yeah, I know I could tell you were trying. I had my fingers crossed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the public hearing for the real property, Saratoga 262 Partners LLC, and approval of real estate purchase agreement. Who's, Kevin?
I'm just waiting here. So this property you have in front of you, a resolution as well as a real estate purchase agreement. This was surplus, 1.51 acres of surplus property that we got as part of the UDOT, or not the UDOT, sorry, the Foothill Boulevard acquisition. Kayla, can you scroll down to the bottom there? So if you see this used to be SLR or possibly PRI or CPB property. Oh, I can't see it there. Okay. And that is parcel 13. So Kayla, if you can zoom in on that.
It's Mayor Council,
It's at the very bottom.
South parcel on this chart.
We've seen it
If you can see that. So a portion of that we don't need for the construction of Foothill as well as some of the connector roads. And so we have agreed based on a recent appraisal of the property to sell that to the developer of Brixton Park. They need that property for a detention basin. So this just is approving that as well as the public hearing.
Okay. Okay, this is a public
See by
hearing.
the map, if you have any questions about the exhibit, how one of the corners is rounded, it's because a road is planned to be there.
Yeah.
And this has a straight corner, but anyway, my apologies.
This is a public hearing. We'll open it for any public input on this item. Please be respectful in your comments. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. Please avoid any repetitive comments. Is anybody here for the public hearing? Was anything sent in, Owen? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Any comments from the council, or I'll entertain a motion?
I'll move that we approve public hearing item 1, resolution R22-43 dated today.
Second.
I have a first from Councilman Wilden, a second from Councilman Porter. Any further discussion on the motion? Councilman Carn?
Aye.
Porter?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
McComber?
Aye.
Podeska?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We have our consent items. There were no library board members here, so we'll leave it on the consent. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the consent items listed on today's agenda.
Second.
I have a first from Councilman McComber, a second from Councilman Podeska. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Business item 1, Cliff Lake General Plan Amendment from office, warehouse, and light industrial to mixed use.
And rezone.
Rezone, yeah.
Yeah, council, this is a request to change the general plan and also to rezone. It's from office, warehouse, and light industrial land uses to a proposed land use of mixed use, and a rezone from agriculture to heavy commercial, regional commercial, and mixed residential. The applicant is Keith Lindstrom, and he is in attendance at this meeting. Here's an overall location map. It's just off of Pioneer Crossing, east of the river. Here's a map of our current land uses for the area, showing office and light industrial, with the proposed area being highlighted or outlined. And this is the current zoning of agriculture for the same property. This is the concept plan. It's an opportunity for the city and the applicant just to have some discussion together. There's no binding agreement at this level for the concept plan. Just gives a better idea of what possibilities are for this property, for the proposed land use and zoning. This is just a little better view or depiction of the mixed residential, showing townhomes and single family and senior housing. And this is a picture of taken from a public street, from a residential area looking into some commercial. And I think it's a pretty good example of what are the possibilities when you have such different land uses right next to each other. And this is the backside of a Walmart in Harrisburg, where they have a 75-foot landscape buffer and a 110-foot building setback. So there are opportunities through design to make good places. It's not just location per se or density, but it's the overall design of the area. And then in your packet, there's some possible motions. The Planning Commission considered this item in a public hearing in May and forwarded the recommendation of a 3-3 to the City Council. So if you have any particular questions, I'll be glad to try to address them at this time.
Would the applicant like to come up? Also, if there's any questions, and Councilman Podeska?
Yeah, so first question is regarding the senior apartments. Do we have in the development agreement or whatever's to have on deed that it has to be 55 plus for residents in?
It'll be deeded 55 plus.
Okay.
Both the senior apartment and the senior community in the southeast corner.
So we have a proposed development agreement that's been presented to the City Council. In that development agreement, we recommend that if the City Council decides that this is a good change for the city, that the applicant go back to the Planning Commission and have a public hearing for a master development agreement and for a neighborhood plan for the mixed residential. Those are requirements for this proposed change.
I think you meant to say the ordinance. The ordinance is conditional on going back to the Planning Commission to develop a neighborhood plan as well as a development agreement. So we don't have in front of the council the neighborhood plan yet that would be required under this zone. So that's why you notice that the ordinance actually says it's conditional on that.
Thank you.
I think this brings a product that's needed in the area, senior housing, affordable housing mix for seniors. I think it's I appreciate you putting in the bigger lots. And that, Councilman McComber?
So I think that it'll be interesting when you do go back to the Planning Commission, because in May, a lot of things have evolved a little bit in terms of the layout of where things are, and some conversations about barriers and trees and things from the May. So I think that potentially they might be more in favor of this, because I know there was a lot of discussions about this and how we can connect it into the neighborhood, to the south. And so I just appreciate all of the efforts. The mayor, I know, spent a lot of time on this project as well. So I just appreciate all the efforts that have gone into trying to make this as positive a product as possible. Thank you.
Councilman Carn?
Yeah, just some clarity on what we're approving tonight. So the only thing we're approving is a rezone, not approving concept plan or anything like that, right?
Correct.
A general plan amendment.
General plan amendment, right? So, but this concept plan, the purple in the bottom right is senior, as well as the pink, or whatever that color is, peach.
Correct.
Correct.
Those are both senior products, right?
Are.
Okay, and then the big white areas are gonna be commercial, right?
Yep, that's where we're going to have the heavy or the heavy commercial and then the regional commercial up along.
Okay,
Pioneer.
so maybe this is premature, but if it comes back in a development agreement, can we put some conditions in the development agreement that we only approve the residential going in proportion to the amount of commercial that goes in? What I don't want to have happen is have all this residential go in. I'm not saying they're going to do this, but a developer could then just walk away and just sell that to somebody else and let them deal with it, the commercial part. So I want to avoid that where we can and say, hey, if you want 50% of your residential approved, we need 50% of the commercial put in. So that's a question for the development agreement, I guess, later.
Probably in the neighborhood plan, those are some things that can be addressed in there.
Okay.
Remember, the mixed residential zone was similar to the planned community zone, where you would adopt the zone and then a community plan would come in and a village plan would come in later. And there were additional legislative decisions that could be made at that stage.
Okay.
That's kind of what we're dealing with the neighborhood plan. I'd have to look through the neighborhood plan provisions, but I think you'd have some discretion to discuss that with the applicant and possibly impose a similar condition to that.
And again, I'm not pointing at this developer by any means, but when we approve the rezone, they could come back with anything, any concept plan after that, within that zone that we put it in there.
Well, they could, but remember, your rezone decision tonight is conditioned on the development agreement being acceptable to the city council.
Great.
So those are some things that you would have some discretion to
Okay.
at least discuss and.
So we'll approve
Come
it
to
tonight,
mutual-
conditional on the development agreement, that we'll see at a later time.
Right.
That's Geneva,
But-
ask the school board and Vineyard what they think of the Geneva development. All the condos went in, no commercial forever,
Yeah.
right? Exactly.
It would be something that we'd have to discuss with the applicant, because the development agreement, we can't say, you must sign this, as a condition of your development. So there would be some discussion with the
Yeah.
applicant.
And if I could, the applicant in early discussions indicated that they would probably retain a lot of that for their portfolio, and they seem quite excited for some of the opportunities they had. So again, that can be fleshed out at a later time, but again, I think we'll let them define that.
I
as we
remember those discussions.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not pointing at one developer or another, but if we approve something like this, very easily, all the residential could go in, and then they could say, oh, there's not a market for the commercial workers.
But you don't have to rezone it. I mean, ultimately, that decision will rest with the council. And so as far as the timing and the ripeness of the commercial development, that's one question. However, if there was ever a request to change the zoning on those parcels, that becomes a legislative decision of the council.
Because by rezoning this,
Did you have something?
our current land use map, we're losing a lot of commercial.
You would, so if we can't come to terms with the applicant on the development agreement, it would basically, the council could just notice it for the next meeting and revert the zoning back.
Okay.
And that would probably be the plan. Hopefully, we're not going to do that. Of course, we want to work with the applicant to try to
Absolutely.
do
And our current plan
mutually
is,
acceptable.
our current plan is to start with the senior community in the south and the commercial in the north at the same time, or, really close to each other.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this
Yeah.
several times, and again, I'm not pointing fingers at you as developer, just in general, we've seen that happen before, where they put all the residential in and then walk away from the commercial, so.
Well, it's too hard
Okay.
to find land right now. Why would I want to sell it?
Councilman Porter.
Yeah, I'd just like to kind of piggyback a little on the comments from both councilmen already. I appreciate all of the hard work. I know mayors spent a lot of time on this, as well as staff. I also, the applicant, I sat in meetings with you working through the heavy commercial zone. I really appreciate your input on that. And I think that the product we ended up with may not be exactly what you hope for, and probably isn't exactly what we hope for, but I think it came out as the best of a collaboration of the two sides, and I think that zone going forward will be a benefit to the city. That being said, Councilman Karn hinted at the fact that we're losing a lot of commercial space here. The land that in our general plan was identified kind of as our major industrial park. It wasn't going to be, factories by any means, but it was going to be a revenue generating area where people could work, where people could have that. And I'm loath to see us lose that, because there's just not really anywhere else in the city where we're going to be able to realize that opportunity. And so that will probably affect how I vote later today.
Councilman Wilden.
I'd just like to say I appreciate the tour that, Mayor, you set up, and when we went and looked at the senior living center, that really changed my opinion, because you hear this type of development without the senior, and we have some of that in the city, and it creates a lot of congestion, but this won't, because it's designed, I think, pretty well and something that the city needs. I think, and I didn't quite understand, but Councilman Podesta asked if that would be in the development agreement, if we'd limit it to the 55 plus.
It is deed restricted.
And deed restricted. So, and you answered yes. So I can't hear out of this ear very well tonight. But that is something I'd like to see in the development agreement. So that's, I think, important, and it will bring a good product. I mean, what's already been said is we're losing a lot of commercial, but I think this is a reasonable compromise. I mean, there will be heavy commercial close to homes. And one of the things I would suggest is that's included on the titles when they come in, so that when they go and buy the home, they know they're going to be close to heavy commercial. We've done that, in other areas of the city, not just for heavy commercial, but some of the other zones, I can't remember, but baseball fields and things like that. That helps the council out, because if it's not on there, even if it's on there, whatever, inevitably they're going to come back, and we don't want whatever is going in there because they thought it would be something else. So that doesn't necessarily need to be in the development agreement. But that is something I'd like to see when we go down, is putting on these titles of these homes bordering the heavy commercial, that they understand what's going in next to them.
That's not a problem with us to notify them that way.
That's it, Mayor.
Perfect. Okay. Other comments? I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve business item 1 with all staff findings and conditions.
I have a first from Councilman Podeska.
I'll second.
I have a second from Councilman Wilden. Any further discussion on the motion?
My only clarification is that this rezone is conditional upon an agreement of a development agreement.
Yep.
It's
in,
Yep.
yeah.
Is it one of the conditions?
It is one of the conditions.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Councilman Podeska?
Aye.
Councilman McComber?
Aye.
Councilman Wilden?
Aye.
Councilman Porter?
Nay.
Councilman Carn?
All right.
Motion passes 4-1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got Star Haven internal accessory dwelling units.
Okay, Mayor and Council, this is something we've been working on for a while now, an issue with IEDUs. We came forward about a month ago to have a discussion and receive direction as far as how do we want to deal with these types of requests. And so this is following that direction. The petition was received following the recent amendment to the ordinance, which stipulated that if a neighborhood which is defined by a subdivision, would submit either a petition or other legal documentation representing 66% of the property owners, they could request that the map be amended. So that is what has happened in this case. The applicant, Troy Perry, lives in this neighborhood and was representing by petition the other neighbors in this area. I'll just, and unfortunately, he did mention to me tonight he's was unable at a conflict. This is a very small neighborhood, pointing out on this larger map where it is found here. We'll just zoom in a little bit closer here. You can see the general location north of Crossroad Boulevard there in the Star Haven residential subdivisions. This is one particular plat with 6 lots, and these lots here are represented by name or ownership. The ones that are shown in red are those that have signed the petition, which is 4 out of 6, which is 66% as required. The Sloan Homes is the developer owned product that has not yet sold the home. They don't really have a leaning one way or the other, but chose not to sign since they won't be the ultimate owner of this property. And Hunsaker mentioned to the applicant, which was mentioned in the Planning Commission meeting, that he didn't really have strong feelings one way or the other, but chose not to sign the petition. So the others are requesting that they have the ability to have IEDUs in their neighborhood. And otherwise, we feel like this meets the intent of where we were headed. So we recommend approval, as does the Planning Commission. Any questions?
Okay, Councilman McComber?
No, I'm just ready to do it.
Oh.
I just in case there's no comments.
I just had a quick question.
Oh.
So did staff ever figure out a fee schedule for, because I remember this was brought up last time?
Right. So we have on the docket coming forward in August a amendment, code amendment, which will stipulate both the noticing procedures that we talked about previously and a fee, a proposed fee by resolution.
And that's just for the staff's time, right? In
Right.
processing? Okay.
Right.
Thanks.
But this particular proposal was submitted before we had even the direction of how we wanted to handle that. So we chose, as with your direction, to just go ahead and process this without having that.
Okay. Perfect. I will entertain a motion if there's no more comments.
I just had one more comment.
Yep.
I have no issue with these homeowners, banding together and doing this. I think that this is a new process. We're trying to work through it and figure it out. So I'm glad that we're making some progress there. This this does highlight one of my concerns with the way it was set up is that in an HOA, 50% of the people can make the decision, but outside of an HOA, it requires 66%, which luckily they had the right number of homes in their neighborhood. Otherwise, they would have, been mathematically out of luck. So anyway, I think that we need to continue to look at that and make sure that everybody in our city has an equal opportunity to have a say in the process rather than advantaging one type of home over another. But I have no problem with this particular one, and so I'll move that we approve business item 2 as listed on the agenda with the ordinance and the staff findings and conditions.
Okay, I have a first from Councilman Porter.
I'll second.
Second from Councilman Podeska. Any further discussion? Councilman Wilden?
Aye.
Councilman Carn?
Aye.
Porter?
Aye.
Comber?
Aye.
Podeska?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
I didn't have any additional discussion, that's why I was holding.
No. Thought you had fallen asleep.
No. Like, I was gonna say no.
Shoreline Development Rezone.
Okay, Councilman, we had a month or two ago to review on a 2x2 basis a proposed concept plan for this development. We have worked with them further on a staff level to further develop their concept, which is part of the development agreement in your packet tonight, and we'll run through part of that here. This is the first mixed waterfront development that we've gotten this far with, at least to my knowledge, and we feel that they have met a lot of the vision elements that I think have been floating around out there. Some of that vision is defined by ordinance, some of it is just by what we've thought would be a good idea, and it's not necessarily written, but I think generally this is meeting the concepts and directions that was received by the council review previously, and also some comments that were given by the Planning Commission. Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on this. There was a fairly substantial crowd that showed up. There was a lot of comments. Some of those comments were addressed with some amendments to the concept plan, as we will review here tonight. And some of them are just, I think, various reasons why there might be some objections to this type of development next door to some existing homes. But by and large, we feel like this has met the intent of the ordinance, the mixed waterfront ordinance. This is only a rezone since the general plan designation in the area already calls for this particular zone. So we're just looking at a rezone from agriculture to mixed waterfront. The property here, there are 4 existing parcels that are part of this proposal, as shown here on the county plat. Shown again here, the mixed waterfront land use.
Is this a development agreement also?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's not just a rezone, it's a development.
Development agreement associated with the rezone. And there shows the agriculture zoning. It's the Loch Lomond property just to the east of this, and to the west is agricultural property. To the south is state-owned lands and the lake shore, Utah Lake. This is part of the concept plan as proposed, and we have further documents that will show that. They submitted their conceptual utility plan, which has had a brief review by our engineers, which basically their red line comment at this point is only that it will be subject to further changes as the details come forward. This is a good bird's eye view looking south, but there is one element on this I need to point out is not correct. It just on the bottom right corner is some development that is not actually part of their concept plan now, but I did include it just to show the connection
to Loch Lomond and the connection to the lake. They are proposing a boardwalk that will go out to the lake shore with a viewing deck area. And it otherwise represents the overall concept of their development. Again, just looking straight down, shows the connections, the frontage to the Lakeshore Trail that's in that area on the southeast corner. And they have submitted as part of their development agreement some design guidelines. And so I'll briefly run through those. Also to mention that the applicant or applicants are here in case you have further questions for them. So this is the main corridor looking southwards towards the lake where they have a mixed-use element going on there. On the bottom floor, commercial residential condos up on top with some nice deck areas above the commercial. This is just representation of the type of design and colors that they're proposing, the type of homes which kind of follow that lakefront or beachfront type of property. They are proposing on the south end of their property a restaurant and hotel, a boutique hotel. So there are some concepts there of what they're proposing. Reception center on part of that lakefront area that they're looking at. And boardwalk concepts and amenities that they propose as part of the project. So we feel that we're very comfortable on a staff level to recommend approval for the rezone simply because it is allowed for by the general plan. But beyond that, also we're feeling more comfortable that this is a good proposal for mixed waterfront development, which of course will go into further planning with their site plan. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Okay, Councilman Carn.
Well, I've got the same questions we did with the last one. On the development agreement, calling out the development of the commercial aspect of the mixed waterfront. At what point does that come into the development, or is it going to be all residential? And then walk away from the commercial and say somebody else do it?
Okay. We can perhaps invite the applicants to come up.
Yeah.
I don't think we specified in the development agreement that commercial must be built at the same time as residential. However, I think since it is a mixed-use development, it likely will involve all in one phase, but I'll let the applicant.
And another question I had is, how far out does the boardwalk go? Is that state land you're going on to?
Yes, we've talked to the state about that, and the state is supporting the idea of a boardwalk.
Okay.
They have them up in Davis County. I haven't seen any here, but I know they have one in Farmington and Syracuse that become wildlife viewing areas.
So then I know you're a little bit further east of where our city marina is, but the lake shore trail, will that go in front of your like on the lake side of your property?
It's offset of the Lakeshore Trail connects to Loch Lomond currently.
Okay.
So their property would get close and then,
So that would be a public access point to the lake?
Yes.
I mean, I think that's a really cool concept there. I think your reception center is a great location. And something, I know that we've got another one coming, but something needed. And I'm, like, how big is your boutique hotel you're looking at?
We don't know. We just came up with concepts because we were asked by the planning commission to come up with some ideas of what could go there.
Okay.
That would draw people to the lake.
So that could change.
It could. The reception center, we've had a couple of people want to put something like that there. We had a care center that wanted to go there, but planning was kind of so-so on that. So we changed it over to a boutique hotel with a steakhouse or a restaurant.
Okay. And then how much, what's the road in front, Mark? 1900?
Yeah.
145, so,
And you notice they had a big green belt offset. You know, as that road continues to expand, it would actually
Build
match up
into
with
that.
Loch Lomond.
so does that get improved with this development?
It would ultimately get improved, I mean, I'm
When
assuming
we widen it.
at this point, it would be finished kind of like we do in other scenarios like this, which would involve some landscaping and trails and things like that.
Yeah, but we're gonna come back and that's gonna get widened and,
It will get widened, so we'll work with them as we have with other developers. on
Okay.
How that phases. Obviously, you know, this is showing us green, I don't know that it makes sense to put football fields.
right,
You know, in.
if we're gonna come tear it out
But we
in
do need to
3
have some
years.
landscaping, and we do need to have some things that make it so that it would develop appropriately.
And so, Ken, the bottom right, you said that's not technically gonna be there?
Right, I'll have the.
What will that be?
That'll be commercial. That's owned by a different landowner.
Oh, it is,
Yes,
but that's,
Part of the application.
correct.
Yeah.
okay, but so they're gonna be developing that under the same development agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the same design standards, everything will apply to that, that won't be residential right there?
No, our architect made a mistake by putting the
Okay.
mixed use there. We have had it in a sports complex, indoor sports complex that's been looking for a piece.
Okay,
And that was generally what we thought might go there.
so the pictures you have of your main drive that goes, yeah, right there,
Yeah,
what goes into those businesses?
Shops.
we have
Like
a
boutique
similar-
shops, like sandwich shops, what is in there?
We have a similar thing in Bountiful. They went 5-store, they started off with 3 and now they've gone 5. I don't like that concept because it gets a little high right next to the sidewalk. So we integrated these patios above. We've had mortgage companies, insurance agencies, ice cream shops, sandwich shops, dress shops, kids stores.
So do you have to be the resident of the condo to own the office space?
No, it'll be condominiumized.
There's
so
separate
Commercial will
spaces.
be separate.
Okay,
And the townhome will be above it. The garage is behind.
residents come from behind,
Correct.
okay.
Yeah.
So just an answer, I know it's late, I didn't get a chance to, after you asked the question, I wanted to review the draft of the agreement, but it doesn't actually address the trail along 145 North. It does address the trail that's along the lake shore that they've also shown on that concept plan. But if you want that to be a specific condition of the development agreement, I would recommend that you include that in your motion, the trail along 145 North that connects to Loch Lomond.
The trail along Pony Express, 145.
Yeah, right. I think your question was with respect to that, correct? That trail?
He was
Well,
asking about Lakeshore, right?
Well, I was asking about both,
Okay.
I want to know how much of 145 would be improved with this, because our plan is that to be widened quite a bit in the next 4 or 5 years.
So
Yeah.
the traffic study would somewhat drive that, but probably it would be at least, you know, center turn lane in and out, and probably some widening, you know, like a wider cross section to allow people to turn into it, merge into it.
Okay, so the
Definitely.
development agreement does not say it has to tie into the Loch Lomond Trail?
It doesn't address the trail, so if you want that to be, then I would say make that part of your motion. I think that's a good idea, to have that property set aside and not developed on for future purposes when Pony Express is expanded.
That's the 145 trail, not the lakefront trail.
Right. Yeah, the question specifically
It's in
about the
there.
145 North
Okay.
Trail, I don't see that in the.
Okay,
I do see the other trail mentioned, the shoreline trail.
okay,
On the top.
that's all I've got.
Councilman McComber?
Great, so this is not a bad picture to stay on for me for right now. So With the parking, the 45-degree parking, I think because of the businesses and the nature of this, I know that that is going to be an exception potentially for development. I think that it encourages businesses, people to park in front of the business. People want to be close to the business as much as possible. I look at the example of the district, right? The mall in front of the movie theater. It tends to work there, and it allows for some additional parking. It creates a Main Street feel for me too, with the trees on the little islands and things along the lines of that. Some of the concern I have is I love the patio idea. I think it's great. You can turn and look and see the view, and it makes it nice. I think that there should be some thought process. This isn't something I'm going to require, but some kind of awning or something below so that teenagers don't throw things at people who are walking along. Never happens, but like
Not
some
since
kind
Michael
of,
grew up.
some kind of awning, and awnings are actually really nice. It helps with, it gives a hometown feel, and create this, what you're really doing is drawing people to the lake, right? And you're pulling the lake into your development, and you're drawing people down to your boardwalk, which I think is great, and potentially a nice restaurant, and et cetera. Wedding reception, a lot of people are going to be made aware of this area. One of the things, I was just looking at the development agreement, Kevin, and I do see in item 8, the architectural and design guidelines. In the mixed waterfront, do we follow the same code guidelines, and maybe this is for planning as well? The no flat roofs. We had a really, the deck is not the roof, but the roof part of the condo, we went through that at Talon's Cove, and they had to come in and they had to put angles. And then if you go another picture forward, there was some examples of very modern homes in the home development area. I think the next one there. So just warning you, like, I just want to make sure that we hold those same standard requirements, because you want to talk to neighbors who get frustrated. Go talk to some of the people in Lehigh and Alpine who built their dream homes, and then their neighbor puts in a completely different home, very modern, and they're very frustrated with it. And there's some, I mean, these are beautiful ones, but that's not necessarily what we would get. And so we have that standard for a reason. It also is for snow and drainage, even though you can put a slope. I've been told all the things about flat roofs and how they work, but we have that standard. We've enforced it on other developments, and I want to make sure that, and make you aware that as part of the development agreement, that there has to be an angle to the roof. Even down by me, Wiltshire Estates, a lot of modern homes, beautiful homes. In fact, if you drive by there, you could get some great ideas, and they just have the angles, and it really creates a nice look and helps it fit in with a European-style home or a like a northeast style home. And so just want to make sure that you're aware of that, because I don't want you guys to get too far down and then all of a sudden going, oh, this is going to, all these design changes need to happen. I think that for me, I'm looking at the development agreement. It's pretty standard, Kevin. I think this is one similar, and you just put in the nuances for this development. I don't see anything that stood out. Is there anything that you wanted to draw attention to us in this development agreement, since we are approving both a rezone and a development agreement?
Yeah, so did Fred review this for you, Ken?
Yes.
Okay. I haven't reviewed the specific changes to our template development agreement. Fred and I didn't get together before the meeting, so that's my apologies.
The biggest
I
additions.
did notice that there are additional landscaping improvements. That's mostly on the shoreline area. We didn't, like I mentioned earlier, we didn't address 145 North.
Yep.
There's additional development requirements. Developers shall provide all necessary and required floodplain and wetland mitigation documents. That's pretty standard language.
Kevin, I don't want you to have to do this like right on the fly. I mean, that's not fair to you.
Oh, I've got it all. Sorry, I went ahead and just redlined it. Angled parking will be permitted only on the main north-south access road. Commercial drive approaches shall be required on all intersections having private to public connections. Planned roadway connections to the west and to the east of the property shall be developed as shown in Exhibit D. The west entrance on 145 North shall have a private commercial drive approach. And then there's also additional architectural guidelines that are incorporated into this development agreement. I haven't reviewed those separate ones, but Ken could probably clarify what those are.
So those items that you
Not
just
sure
listed,
today.
are those red lines that haven't been gone back to the developer yet, or are those something that, what you just outlined, that list that you were just outlining?
Those are red lines that were reviewed by staff and engineering on the concept plan itself, and so those comments fed into the development.
And so the developer is aware of all of those things? Okay.
We are, and we didn't know about the flat roof thing, but we're completely fine with going to a sloped roof.
It's not a big deal, right?
Do you mind telling me what the subdivision name was again? You said to go.
Oh, Wiltshire Estates. I would go to, they're beautiful homes down
Is
there.
it in Saratoga?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It's in the Saratoga Springs Master Plan Development.
Down by the golf course.
It's a gated community. It's a gated community right on the lake in the Saratoga Springs
I know
development.
where it is
Off
now.
of Centennial Boulevard.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
So if that requirement's not in their architectural requirements, that could be an additional condition that the council makes. And remember, the state law now says that legislative bodies can't impose architectural requirements on residential unless it's part of a development agreement that's approved through your legislative powers of zoning.
That's why I was bringing it up.
You would definitely need to add that as a
So
condition.
one of the things that I would like to do, and I'm hoping the developer would be fine with it, is the rezone to me is sort of easy as a council because this is on our land use map. It's this is the zone that we want. On the development agreement, I would like it if we maybe put a condition that the things that we discussed today that have come up with 145th and the architectural standards, that they work with Kevin, and upon approval of the city attorney and maybe the city manager, then the rezone is in effect, because I don't want to write conditions of a development agreement as we sit here. I'd rather it be done right.
And I'd be comfortable with it being reviewed, and once it's good with Mark, then you're not coming back.
You don't have to come back, and if everyone agrees, then we just can move forward.
Yeah, we're fine with that. I think they've been fair with us, and we're not bothered. I think for us just getting to this point of getting to a concept, I think we're about 10 months in now, so we're kind of excited for that.
This would allow you to move forward, so.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Wilden?
When we met 2x2s to now, it seemed like there's been more effort around the commercial to structure what that was. And I appreciate the commentary today that helped clarify a few things for me. There was some comments Ken made where, and I didn't see it in the development agreement, there's not architectural design modifications in the development agreement, is there?
I haven't compared it with what the requirements of Title 19. And I was trying to review those really quickly, but I can't compare. I mean, they're both really lengthy documents. I wouldn't be able to compare the two.
I would prefer that we stick with Title 19. Some of the concerns, I know this is just like a concept plan, but looking in our packet, there's certain things it looks like it creates a alleyway where it's just flat along all the homes all the way back. And we've had issues in the other city where they had to, within our city, where they had to go in and put depth. And I think that's part of our architectural design guidelines and those type of things. So without going word for word, I would like to understand what the differences are being proposed in this document versus what's in Title 19, because we've spent an awful lot of time in Title 19 to put things together and to prevent creating I don't know what you call it, but looking at some of those pictures reminded me of our old office warehouse zone and some of the concept plans that were coming up. And I know that's not what you're going for, but I want to make sure that the time the city has put in to create those architectural designs in Title 19 stay.
Right, and I guess I would just mention, if it's not otherwise stipulated in our development agreement as a variance from what we're doing in Title 19, the site plan will be regulated by Title 19 requirements.
Unless the development agreement that we're approving tonight has a whole bunch of different things in it, then it would be stipulated against the development agreement.
The only thing would be, one of the exhibits is design guidelines. So it's very conceptual guidelines, so
not requirements. So I think still the Title 19 will come into play there.
But if we have existing design guidelines in our city code, why are we creating a development agreement that regurgitates the same thing that it may or may not regurgitate? I mean, I didn't go word for word through it.
In the development agreement, the way it's worded, it says the developer shall comply with the design guidelines. So you bring up a great point. If you're uncomfortable with the design guidelines that were hopefully shown in the packet, and whether it complies with Title 19, that would be a good reason to table this or delegate to staff to review that to make sure there aren't any material conflicts. I haven't had a chance to review those yet, but that would have also been something that, I think that's a legitimate question and concern.
So I'm fine in not tabling it, but I want it conditioned on the development agreement, all the other things that's been said, and then also adding this to make sure that we're not creating a code within a development agreement. I know what you're saying, Ken, but we've been through this, I don't know how many times, 9 years, we've created new codes within development agreements, and that's the contractual obligation that we have to hold to. So I'm not comfortable approving the development agreement tonight, but the other stuff, I'm okay. Just, some of the concepts, they're rough, and it's not quite what I envisioned, but I think conceptually our conversations, we're getting there.
So like with Michael's, are you comfortable with approving with Mark?
Yes.
Okay. Putting you on the spot, Mark.
You guys know I have no sense of style or taste or color.
Yeah, we've seen you dress.
Basically, Mark. Basically,
But we know you know policy.
I would like our planning director to be part of that conversation. So our planning director, Sarah, Mark, and our attorney to make sure it's consistent and we're not inadvertently creating new code.
Yeah, and
Here it says consistent with Title 19 architectural standards.
Yeah.
Which is the articulation and other things.
Yeah.
And
We're
I
fine
would say,
with meeting that.
Yeah.
We don't have any fight with that.
I thought it actually mentioned Title 19. I was just reading through this. I thought it had mentioned Title 19 within the design standards, and then it just gave us extra ones because it was waterfront to follow along with the master plan, what it depicts in the master plan about what you guys want to see as far as lakeside type communities and stuff like that. So
I think it says shall, because that's why it's a problem, but we'll get it fixed.
Well, and I'm not being critical of anything. I mean, I did peruse through it, but I haven't gotten my attorney degree online yet.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Not an attorney degree. It's a law degree. Anyway, my point is, I'm not comfortable until
It can be anything.
What?
When you buy it online, it
Yeah.
can be anything.
I mean, I got my engineering degree through Facebook. Sarah took a link the other day. Everyone's an engineer on that page. Anyway, I'm not comfortable with it until our city attorney is comfortable with it, and I want him to have adequate time to go through it, and I'm comfortable delegating that to staff.
can I ask just for just a slight modification of that? I would still like the mayor to sign the development agreement.
Okay.
Because we want it to remain a legislative decision and give staff that really very specific, limited direction to address those people.
If it meets everything and the three of you reviewed it, I'll come in and sign it because the council's doing approval today, pending your review, yeah. Okay. Councilman Porter?
Yeah, so I like the idea of the main drag there with the commercial and the residential over that. I do think that those patios will probably be a nice amenity. I'll be honest, my biggest concern with this is that we're gonna see it go the way that the mixed use zone used to go, which is the housing developed and the commercial didn't. I didn't hear much tonight that really made me feel warm and fuzzy that the reception center is already in the works and we already have somebody that's building that. Or the restaurant or the hotel. It seems more like, let's put something on there so that they think we're gonna do commercial, but we're just gonna build a bunch of houses. And I get it, housing developers build houses, commercial developers do commercial. For some reason in Utah, we don't have anybody that does both. But I'm just concerned about how separated the two, the housing and the commercial feel, except for that one main drag. That's like the one place where you're actually gonna get mixed use. Otherwise, we're just gonna end up with Riverbend Townhomes, Sergeant Court. You know, we've had this happen over and over again where the houses come in and there's nothing, the commercial is ignored because the developer isn't a commercial developer and doesn't have inroads into that world. So this seems very mixed waterfront. I'm just concerned that the rest of the development is just a residential neighborhood. And that's probably what we're gonna end up with. So I don't know how to address that. It just doesn't feel like it's mixed use except for this one road. It feels like it's a commercial and a housing development and then one road of mixed use. So if anybody's got any ideas of how we can, and I'm not tied necessarily to the reception center or the steakhouse, and I get those are ideas. I don't want it to be a vacant lot for 20 years.
Didn't we just have this situation earlier and we talked about putting it in the development agreement?
Yeah, but I mean,
Cliff Lake, yeah.
I haven't heard any discussion of doing something similar here, so that's why I guess I'm bringing it up.
I thought we did.
Well, they're gonna be having a conversation about development agreements, so include that in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to delegate that to staff because staff, that's not just saying, make sure it meets Title 19. That's saying, Kevin, do you feel there's a tool or a method that whereby we could link those two, the housing and the commercial? Because I really don't want to see that commercial.
So a certain percentage of housing can't be built until
Yeah.
the lakefront commercial's developed or something.
Right, or like, the last two phases can't be finished or something like, I mean.
Yeah, we could probably articulate that in the day, but I'm not sure exactly what the council's going for. And
I want to avoid what we've had happen every single multi-use, mixed use.
All those two big commercial.
I understand.
But with DR Horton, we
understand,
did
but we have-
something, was it, they had to market it 5 or 10 years commercial before they could come back for housing in the development agreement. And Wadsworth.
I don't want it reverting to
snatched
housing.
it
My
up.
point was, I'm not sure.
No, but I'm just saying,
Right,
but
but-
Wadsworth grabbed it.
Yeah,
I didn't really finish my thought. I guess I don't know how we can make that DA amendment on the fly in the council meeting. I think we'd have to bring that back if that's something the council wants.
And if that's the case, maybe you approve this conditionally tonight?
approve the rezone conditional upon the future approval of a development agreement. I'm okay with
How
that.
fast can we get that back in front of us? What's the process?
They have to negotiate.
Well, and so the next question I'd ask is if you did that, what's the percentage or what's the ratio that you want us to look towards? Is it by the time it's 50% built, 50% of the commercial's been? Because you're putting limitations on how fast things can go.
Right.
On that. There's other ways that you could do this and again, without going too far, I mean, you could make this neighborhood a CRDA. And then have, some incentive monies or something like that you put towards the commercial. That's just on the fly.
It is the first mixed waterfront. This is.
If we want it.
We want it to be good.
We have to be creative, and so maybe that's.
Is CRDA is the right way?
It could be. I mean, again, we haven't discussed this with the applicant.
A
But
steakhouse to go or a restaurant
We can use
to go. They would need some kind
tax
of.
increment.
It's a huge risk.
It's like.
Why would they not
Costco.
just go over here?
Again, I don't know the right answer to that, but to Kevin's point, yeah, to Kevin's point, I think it is pretty tricky to, I don't think we could write this on the fly, so I think that.
The new, did the legislature, did that bill pass that we are no longer allowed to incentivize commercial unless there's a housing component?
Yes.
You did, and this has the housing component.
Okay, so this would still.
Again, you know,
I just want to make sure we're not going down a path that has no fruit.
Again, we'd have to do the analysis, we'd have to do the math, but the housing component part to this is what would make that most likely.
Possible, okay.
Trigger that.
So I don't want to slow you guys down, but are you hearing anything that you don't like so far?
No, I think what you're saying is somewhat reasonable, just so you know, because I think you think we're home builders. We are not.
You understand where we're coming from, right?
Oh, I do.
People come in, they build the residential, and then they say, there's no market for the commercial, we're gonna sit on it or sell it off.
Right, and I like your incentive for bringing the commercial in. We want to do, so what we want to do is sell off the single-family lots, let somebody else build them. We want to build the Main Street.
And the commercial.
And, well, yes, as it comes, we do have a reception center that's wanted to come there, but their pushback to us is like, we've tried to come into Saratoga and we keep on getting told no. They want to be here, they just can't make a commitment until they feel that we have something we can offer them. So yes, we do have that, and we do have a care facility, but we were told that that wasn't a big interest for the city.
Not
in this location, yeah.
Yeah, and we're fine with that. We're just trying to come up with ideas. A church would be allowed in that zone. The indoor sports complex up on that northwest piece. We do have a group.
I mean, I think your concept of the boutique hotel, marketing towards Silicon Slopes for long-term executive stay is a great idea because it gets people out of congested Lehigh down to the lake who are here for 2 months at a time, right? I think that's.
Yeah, I think these mixed-use thing on the Main Street would be great for something like that.
Yeah, I think it's all positive.
Yeah, we're willing to do that. I just don't know how far we can go without selling off single-family lots. Then we have the money to do the Main Street, and then we can sell off the reception center, the event center, as Jen calls it, and that's fine.
So
Beyond that,
your plan is to sell that and let somebody else build it? You're not gonna put that in?
No, I've never done that. I don't want to own a reception center.
Can you go back and show the housing product? Or the, something, yeah, like that. No, go back to the white one. Sorry, not.
Mark, I would like to explore the idea, you know, Eagle Mountain's done their incubator program and that, and they've pulled a lot of stuff that should have been in Saratoga Springs.
Yeah.
Go back.
We've hired Doug. He's sharp. He's good at what he does. I like your idea of the CRDA. We've spent 6 years, 7 years trying to get a development like this to take off. We probably need to step in and do something to help incentivize that commercial piece.
Yeah.
It worked with retail.
To work with retail and make things happen.
What I was trying to go for is if we could see the white map, that's the overhead map, the white one with the lines. Not that one, too small. That one. Mayor and council, and this is the concept that I want to pitch to you all. And maybe you can help me understand. What is it that you need most to get moving? Because the development agreement, it's tricky because you want to sell off the single family product, but I think that we still need to do some work on the Main Street as well as some of that commercial area. Would you be comfortable, say, rezoning the housing portion closest to Loch Lomond? And I'm offering this as just, I don't know what your needs are, but that would let them perhaps move forward while we do the development agreement for the remainder of that.
I'm happy to rezone it all.
Rezone the whole thing, yeah.
I just want it contingent on
an approved development agreement.
Yeah, I'm good too.
Like, if this is the zone we want here.
Okay.
Right,
Like, it's
let's do
just
it.
making sure we're getting an actual mixed waterfront.
So maybe, and again, I'm calling an audible with my planning department and legal, sitting here going, what's Mark gonna do? I guess my question is, if you're comfortable with the rezone should stipulate the trail on 145. It should stipulate, you know, some of the other items that you've talked about, which is the architectural. But I think what you're gonna need to do is then state, prior to their next approval, they have to have a development agreement that's ready to be approved.
Sure.
Yeah.
That allows them to move forward, but.
And then
But
we can
still work
address,
on the development
we
agreement.
can address some of those other options as well.
I'm okay with that.
Does that work?
Yeah, okay.
I would just make sure that the portions of the property are kept together, separated. As far as with the development agreement, because like I
Well,
mentioned
especially because
before.
we need the housing if we're
Right.
gonna do a CRDA.
Right, and if you bifurcate it, I just was trying to think if there's a phasing project that's critical to them, like maybe, you know, the first 2 blocks
Yeah.
over something, that could move forward while everything else gets resolved or something, but that doesn't, I don't know that gets you where you want to be.
Yeah, I just want to finish what I was going to say, because before we mentioned architectural requirements on residential cannot be imposed unless it's part of a DA. So we have to have that if there are some for the.
One of the conditions that we're looking
component.
at, right? Who's saying this thing?
Perfect. I will entertain a motion if,
Porter?
All right, here goes. I move that we approve shoreline development rezone agricultural to mixed waterfront, contingent upon the fact, or adding let's see, I'm just gonna say that. Item number 3, adding conditions that the development agreement address architectural standards, specifically relief and to comply with Title 19. That we, there was one other
Pony
one.
Express Trail.
Oh, the Pony Express, the Pony Express Trail
Trail connectivity.
be connected to the trail in front of Loch Lomond.
And all the standards around it.
And then adding a condition that before any further approval, any further staff approvals are made, that a negotiated master development agreement is brought back to the council. Did I get it all?
Second.
can I
Yeah.
add one thing? That's to have staff look at a CRDA or something.
Direct staff to explore a CRDA in this area and see feasibility, bring that back to the council.
And second.
Okay.
Just gotta see it.
Councilman Wilden?
Can I have a discussion?
You can.
It sounded like you were doing just the rezone, but then you did the whole thing.
I'm doing just the rezone and then requiring that they bring back a development agreement.
Okay, because the way I heard it is a rezone, never mind, just item 3.
Oh, okay, that was not clarifying. We're only doing the rezone. The development agreement needs to be brought back to the council.
And you had said prior to any additional approvals.
Any-
So basically just lighting the fire to get this done.
Yeah,
Okay.
Could I ask a question?
sure.
Could we concurrently do that and have a working document that we're working towards as we go towards a, preliminary plat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just whatever your next approval is, have that DA so that it's completed by the time you're ready to go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're fine. with that.
Yeah.
It's just giving you parallel tracks so we can work on that while.
I didn't want to do that and then have to wait a couple
Nope.
more
No.
months.
No, you can do your
You can do
preliminary.
them both at the same time.
Okay.
So I'm sorry,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say that motion was a long squiggly line, so.
It was. You want me to restate it?
That would help for me, because
Okay.
we're just doing the rezone condition on bringing the MDA back at their next approval
Correct.
item that includes potentially CRDA or some other type of thing, and the trail and something else, I don't remember.
And the architectural standards.
This one out then?
That it complies with Title 19.
Yeah.
You also had discussed as a council the restriction, making sure that the residential doesn't come first or the multifamily doesn't
That'll
come
be
first.
part of what you guys bring back.
Development agreement.
Could you read back what motion you have on the record?
It was like,
Got some baling twine on this motion.
See how this goes.
Oh,
It's amazing how good
Yes.
she gets this. Watch how good this will be.
It's better, it's gonna make me sound like I said it good.
Hold me to that, but I'll do my best.
your motion.
Motion to approve the shoreline development rezone of agriculture to mixed waterfront. Ordinance 2230 dated today, adding conditions that the development agreement address architectural standards to comply with Title 19 and that the Pony Express Trail be connected to the trail in Loch Lomond and meet the standards. And another condition that before any additional staff approvals are made, a negotiated master development agreement needs to come back to the council and have staff explore the feasibility of a CRDA in this area.
See, that's perfectly clear. I don't know what you're talking about.
we should refer with you.
Did you have conformance with Title 19 architecture?
That's what his motion
Yeah.
looked like.
Okay.
I second what Kayla said.
Thank you for translating, Chris.
The requirement to make sure that commercial comes forward.
Direct, well, that's the negotiated
That's part of the-
MDA.
With your MDA.
So that's just staff direction. That needs to be part of whatever you guys negotiate
And the MDA.
in the MDA.
I thought those other ones were, that's fine. Unmute me, please. Thank you. So this, right now, you're approving a rezone, okay? So delegation to staff to bring back another development agreement. I want to make sure that your conditions you're imposing tonight are the same ones that are going to be added to the development agreement, because they have the rezone, you know, and so that's why I think that needs to be added to the motion as well, because that is one thing that was brought up. And
I will add to the motion that we would like some sort of calculation tying the commercial and residential together.
I think what Kevin was also saying is that the rezone is conditional upon the successful development agreement being established.
Oh, okay.
Is that what you were saying, Kevin?
that's what I'm saying, but.
It would, I mean, we want this zone here anyway.
But a staff.
For some reason, we can't come to an agreement, it would revert back to.
They
ag.
would be able to build whatever under.
It would revert back
It
to.
would
ag.
revert back to ag.
Okay, fine. Adding a condition that if the development agreement is not agreed to, it reverts back to ag.
I have a question regarding that. I don't think our intent is to get to a development agreement. And if we don't, what does it matter if the zone stands? Because then whoever comes in after is going to have to meet your standard. So undoing a zone seems, I don't think that's the right thing to do.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, that was the argument I just said, but I was told to. We needed.
Jeremy, now we got engineering on this. This is all guns
I
out.
think part of it has to do with legislative, right? So right
Heston,
now-
you got anything you want to weigh in on?
Right now, you're in a legislative discretionary thing, so these conditions of the trails and everything can be tied conditional to the rezone. If you rezone it without those conditions, when they come back under administrative, which is, do they meet the title or not, some of those things you may not have any ability to impose as conditions if they're not strictly in the code. So one of the reasons is you want to condition it is this is the point where there's some negotiation on you're getting your rezone, but you're also agreeing to improve your property with certain things. So once you rezone it, you have no discretion, right? It either meets the code or it doesn't on the next application, whereas this one you have more discretion being.
So
that's correct.
I'm supportive of the latest edition. Because that's the point, is if we don't get some MDA that addresses a CRD, whatever that is.
The alphabets.
Yeah, the alphabet, or tying the residential and the commercial to some percentage, then the next person that does it can go back to a terrible concept.
So-
Which, this is good, but.
That's fine.
I think what we're trying to get to is you do want to condition it.
Okay.
Okay.
Did we add that?
The revert and the
Percentage, yes, adding both of those.
Second both.
Okay. I have a fifth from Councilman Porter, fifth from Councilman Carn.
Fifth first.
Second, a reamendment, whatever it is. Any other further?
I'm just glad Kayla's here because I wouldn't have approved, I wouldn't have voted aye if she wouldn't.
Okay. Podeska.
Aye.
McComber.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
Porter.
Aye.
Carn.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank
Thank
you.
you. I know it's been a while.
First, you're the first, so that causes no more difficulty.
It's been so fun.
Yes.
Okay.
I officially think that's the longest motion in 12 years.
Seriously.
Chris, you hold the
That wasn't all
record.
my fault. You guys were the ones adding stuff.
Okay.
Don't blame me.
Amendment to Agreement 2016-630 with Utah County.
Mayor and Council, just real briefly, this is the option that we have to continue to participate with the Community Development Block Grant Program with the county. This is a little bit challenging for us because we think that at some point during the next 3 years, which is, the terms of this is 3 years, that we will hit the 50,000 population mark and be a direct entitlement community, at which time we'd have to establish standards, but we would then be a direct entitlement. The challenge with this is, theoretically, if we don't get the population acknowledged by the Community Development Block Grant Program, then theoretically, this money would just be lost to the county and to us. And so we've discussed this. We obviously, would like to be able to apply for this. I think there is some benefit if we partner with the county in that the funding doesn't get lost. I think that there's.
Do we get any though?
We don't, but we do get funding in other areas. And as I was kind of reevaluating this, since our last discussion, we just got $13 million approved on the 145 rebuild. We just got funding approved for improving Old Saratoga Road. We've got a $10 million grant with MAG for Foothill Boulevard. All of those things are because we're in the high growth portion of the county and we qualify for those. There are other portions of the county such as Goshen or something like that might be able to benefit from the CDBG funds if we were to stay with them. Now, that said, I do think we're going to come close to that 50,000 number. It just, if it's lost, it's the only problem. So again, you all can go either direction on it, but again, just from a pragmatic standpoint, we can either choose not to extend this and we can have it or not.
Okay. I will entertain a motion unless there's discussion. Councilman McComber?
I'll start off with I'm not a gambler. So I move that we approve the amendment to the agreement 2016-630 with Utah County, extending the agreement for 3 years?
3 years.
Second. First from Councilman McComber.
I will second for the
Okay,
third
second,
time.
Councilman Podeska. Thank you, because those two make long amendments. Any further discussion? Podeska?
I will just encourage our esteemed mayor to leverage the fact that we're signing up for this for another 3 years in his discussions with the county and other organizations and bringing us this money back.
Or some money back.
Yeah.
Other things.
Okay. Councilman Carn?
Aye.
Porter?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
Comber?
Aye.
Podeska?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We have the adoption of the water shortage response plan.
Mayor and
Mayor,
Council.
can we take a 5-minute?
Yes, let's do. 5-minute break.
We're going to talk about